Hey squaddies, and welcome back to the Shattered Isles. As always, I'm D, and today we'll be taking the Fearless Slayer's Bestiary Entry for the Hellion. The Hellion is a dangerous beast, and it's also probably one of the most well-armed, I guess you could say, in the fact that it actually has 11 attacks. 12 are on my list, but one of them is not actually an attack, and I'll talk about that when we get there. It is also another cousin to the Gnasher, and this is actually when we get a little bit of backstory on, which makes it a little unique in that we don't really hear that much about where the beasts come from. But the Hellion is apparently what happens when you hunt a Pangar with a fire weapon. Now, this thing, as you can probably tell from the fact that I mentioned fire weapons, the Hellion is a very dangerous fire beast. It's kind of the combination of the Embermane and the Charog in terms of where it gets its fire from, because there's a lot of magma and a lot of just raw fire. Also Phoenix Opals that I will be taking. Now, it's not quite as big as the Pangar, but ultimately I'd say it's a lot more dangerous. Now, just like the Pangar though, it does have an ether charge. I like to call it Burning Rage as opposed to Frost Rage. Burning Rage sounds much better in my head. That's a rock. Hopefully we find it soon. But part of what makes the the Hellion's ether charge different is the 12th attack. I'll talk about, which I'm gonna go ahead and talk about. Oh, there it is. You can tell it's already bigger than the Gnasher. It's not quite as big as the Pangar, like I said. This is its first attack, the volcano. It looks around, looks forward a little bit, burrows, and then bursts out of the ground as a volcano. There's also some lava bombs that come out, and it does a rolling attack out of it. That attack is very difficult to roll through, so roll to the sides, probably the best bet. And the lava bombs come out as well. Big warning about this, it is entirely possible for the volcano to form underneath you. So be ready for that. There's a stomp, it's just like the Gnasher's version, except the tail actually has a hitbox too, as you saw from the fact that I actually got hit by it. Now, there's a side slam again. It's just like the Gnash, it's a lot like the cool shots. The body slam. There's another stomp. Here comes the volcano again, so we have to be careful. There you get to see the whole thing, because it wasn't super close to me. But yeah, for the side slam, the body slam like that, it looks to one side, leans away from it, and then kind of throws itself into the air. There's a shoulder charge. I'll probably do what I did with the Stormclaw and give you the names. I'll try and give you tells where I can, but that is the Skull Bash, as I like to call it. Oh wow, we already got it down. Tail Slam, that is just like the Gnashers. The only difference is when it enrages, the Hellion cannot do 4 in a row, so don't worry about that. The Hellion is also... Actually, I'll try and get the attacks off first. There you see why I say roll to the side. That's just a roar. No harm there. But, let's see. Again, the tail slam, or the tail slap, you've seen it before. The body slam, you saw it, the full tail there, where it kind of, like I said, leans away and then goes down. Goes for the attack. Tail swipe. Just like with the Pangar, you have to be careful, because the tail swipe on the Hellion does have a hitbox going and returning, so... Can I get this? Just barely. Okay, let's see. Well, I've got a moment. You saw the scratch as well. It used it on me. There's a shoulder charge. But the scratch, it starts kind of like the stomp, but it ends with the Hellion doing the little like burial, like trying to bury something scratch behind it. It's not a very damaging attack, and you'll only see it really if the Hellion feels like it's got a lot of enemies near its legs. Here comes the regular Enrage. Now you'll notice with the Enrage, it's just like the activation is just like the Mashers, but it also forms little lava pools. They will set you on fire, and they stick around for a little bit of time, not a long time. Enough to be a bit of a threat, though. The Enrage also doesn't extend the spin on the tail swipe, so be careful there. Anyway, the shoulder charge that you just saw, it kind of takes a half a step back, lowers its head down and to one side, and charges forward with that. Trying to get out from under it because I don't want to be under. I do not want to be under the Hellion. Skull Bash. Let's see. Where's the Skull Bash on here? Okay, so yeah, it kind of does the same thing as the shoulder charge, but instead of moving forward, it just kind of swipes its head from one side to the other. One thing about the shoulder, that's the Skull Bash. You saw it right there. One thing about it is it's hard to tell if you're on the front end a lot, but the Skull Bash, the tail has a hitbox as well. So you have to, in fact, a lot of times if the tail is moving with the Hellion, it's got a hitbox. Let's see if I can get these guys up. You can already probably tell the Hellion is a very dangerous, very active fight. Alright, I'm not even going to go for that break part. Now the thing about the Hellion is, with its Enrage, it doesn't gain any new attacks. It does with its Aether Charge, Burning Rage, but we haven't seen it yet, so I can't talk about those just yet. I will when we get a chance, though. And the way the Burning Rage starts is just like with the Frost Rage for the Pangar, is that the tail fills up, or that the sections of its back, of its spines, are fully inflamed. Takes a while, and a lot of, oddly enough though, you kind of want Burning Rage to activate because of the 12th attack. I will grab that blue. And like I said, there is literally nothing stopping the Hellion from forming the volcano right underneath you. So be especially careful of that. Because, I mean, it is a volcano, it will set you on fire. And that right there is actually kind of rare because the Hellion doesn't run as often. It tends to stick around and fight because it's a very aggressive beast. Alright, now I've talked a little bit about 7 of its attacks. I haven't talked about 3.5 of them because they're the Aether Charge, the Burning Rage. Now, like I said, the Hellion, as the fight goes on, builds up flames in along its spinal plates. It's just like with the Pangar, and eventually it will set itself effectively on fire. Also, as the fight goes on, you'll notice the Hellion tends to use Volcano in pairs after a while. And a lot of times it will, not always, but a lot of times it will aim for the same person with both volcanoes, so I shouldn't have done that because I knew the tree was in the way. And that's actually an invincible tree, so I can't cut it down. Anyway, during its burning rage, it actually gains 2 new attacks, which are incredibly dangerous, with one exception. With one special exception. Okay, I stopped its enrage by breaking its arm. Anyway, the two special attacks it gains during its Aether Charge, its Burning Rage. One of them is what I like to call the Magma Bomb Ring. You see these magma balls that come out of the volcano? It can actually, during its Aether Charge, it can actually project those from its own back. And it does them in a large circle that basically cuts off anybody really close to the Hellion. Ow. Like I was saying, it cuts off anybody really close to the Hellion, and I'm trying to go save my friend there. Well, not my friend, my teammate. But it cuts off anybody really close to the Hellion from anybody outside the ring. And the other one is a magma breath, where it pauses for a moment, and then starts backing up with its head very low to the ground, breathing out magma. Like, it actually starts vomiting up raw, melting earth. That is how dangerous this thing gets. Put my weapon away to run over here to help these guys. Now, the last thing I haven't talked about is the one that's not really an attack. It's actually something that helps you out, and it's why Burning Rage is actually not as dangerous as everybody would think for an Aether Charge. Because the 12th on my attack list for the Hellion is not an attack. It's what I like to call the Burning, or not the Burning, but the Flame Heart. During Burning Rage, as the Hellion gets injured, and from break parts, and when I say break parts, I mean broken parts. Like, the tail is a great candidate for this. The Hellion will occasionally release what look like little miniature suns, a lot like what the Embermane Lantern does. Also, you'll notice the danger has climbed to 93%. What these do is you can pick them up. You can walk into them. They will not hurt you. In fact, they will help you a lot. The Flame Heart is a buff that any Slayer can pick up. What it does is it does 2 real things. The first one is a minor buff. Is a decent but still minor attack speed buff that you can use to cause a lot more damage to the Hellion. And in fact, oh great, there goes max danger, so I can't revive that person. The other and the bigger effect of the Flame Heart that you can get is that as long as the buff lasts, you're immune to fire damage. Like, you can wade through the magma without any issues. And there's I didn't do that intentionally, but that is a great chance to show you guys that yes, the tail has a hitbox on a lot of its attacks. I don't even know where the rift is. Oh, this is going to come down to... I was going to say, I do still have my revive stim, so we're not screwed if I go down. Okay, I rolled and still got hit with that somehow. There's the Burning Rage. And that's actually the magma bomb ring that I was talking about. You can still get out if you're good and you go between the things. We need to break something. Alright, its rage is done, and I'm the only one alive. This is where the Hellion gets especially dangerous. Because the Hellion normally seems to have trouble focusing on an enemy. There, these are the flame hearts. As long as I've got this buff, there's the attack speed buff, you see, but you see how I'm standing in the lava and I'm not lighting myself on fire by doing this? And there's the magma breath. I'm picking up more of them because that means it'll last longer. Now, of course, this doesn't make you immune to the fact that the Hellion is still a giant, you know, beast that can still hit you pretty hard. Okay, we might actually lose this one. Yeah. Oh, okay. Ugh. I'm not down yet, Hellion. Okay, the fact that I survived that is proof that the Hellion is beatable, even solo, but I don't recommend it. I do recommend bringing a team with you, and also using your elemental knowledges, because that's why I'm using my Pangar's Tooth, the Pangar Pike, because this thing is actually weak to ice. But you'll notice that the Hellion is very dangerous. You do need to understand that, because, I mean, I've beaten this thing with a team before. It's not impossible. No beast is invincible. I know one of us has a tracking lantern. And this is actually where things get especially dangerous, when you're coming out of the trees against the Hellion, because of the fact that it likes to open up with Volcano. If you want an idea of just how dangerous this thing is, you'll notice my armor is a little different. The boots I'm wearing are from the Moonreaver, the Maelstrom version of the Shrike. The chest armor and the helmet are also from Maelstrom versions, specifically of the Carabac and the Quill Shot. I didn't do this badly against them. The Hellion is one of the supremely dangerous beasts of the Isles. And this is a coordinated, well, not a coordinated team, but this is a team that's doing its best. We've got 4 pike users, 3 of whom are using elemental weaknesses against this thing. I'm gonna run for the rift. Which also had the benefit of drawing the Hellion to me. Now, one of the things about the Hellion is normally I would encourage you guys to break the tail. I still do, because that means you get better chance, or you get more chances to get Flameheart when it goes into a burning rage. Don't know how that hit me. I thought I rolled. But anyway, like I was saying, it gives you, if you break its tail, it gives you more chances for Flameheart during Burning Rage. But the problem is, do not count. The only thing you can disable with with breaking the tail off this thing is that tail swipe, and it still kinda does it. Well, I'm downed. Yep, I think we're gonna lose this one, folks. To show you just how dangerous the Hellion can get. Anyway, like I said, I'll go ahead and start my review of the abilities. The volcano, like I said, it looks in a direction, then burrows down into the ground, and then it will create a volcano a second later. There's a rumble, and then the volcano will sprout. Once that is fully formed, the Hellion comes flying out of it in a ball form that slams into the ground and does a ton of damage. And there's also it's usually between 4 and 6 small magma blobs that come out and land on the ground, forming pools, kind of like what you see right there. Those stick around for a bit, but the volcano can form under you, so be very careful. Also, you'll notice that during the Burning Rage, the stomp that the Hellion inherited from its Gnasher forebears will create small little pools of magma, just like it does when it enrages. The tail slam lowers its body towards the ground, leaps up. It's just like the Gnasher's tail slam. The only difference is it's got a much larger hitbox because the Hellion is much larger. Body slam, it looks to one side and shifts its weight away from that direction, so if it's looking to its left, it's going to shift to the right. Then it'll shift its weight back the way it looked, jump into the air, and slam, landing on its side. The weird thing about this is the hitbox doesn't seem active until just after it lands. They might have fixed it, I don't know. But basically you want to be careful, so I'd say roll closer or farther away from it. Don't roll to the sides, because the hitbox is strange on that one. The shoulder charge, like I said, takes about a half step back, we just saw it there. And then charges forward, lowers its head to one side in a tackle style charge. You can roll through this, it's not that difficult. You just gotta time it right. I'd recommend trying to roll through the head section rather than the body, because the body is much larger. Alright, Skull Bash. We've seen it a couple of times in this fight. It moves moves its upper body away from it and takes it from the direction it's going to swipe, and kind of takes a half step back with that leg. Then swipes its head and shoulder from that direction to the other. Its head goes really low to the ground for this. And remember that during this, if it's trying to skull bash somebody on the other side of it, the tail can still hit you. The Hellion's tail does have a hitbox during this, so be careful. Then you have the scratch. It's just like with the Pangar. It's used when something is when somebody is attacking the Hellion's legs. Shifts weight away from one leg, scratches like a dog or cat that's trying to move something behind it or bury it. This comes out very quickly, so just be aware if it looks like it's shifting its weight, move. Tail swipe, looks to one side, shifts away from it, and swipes its tail in the direction that it's looking. And when the tail then the tail comes back. Warning: the tail has a hitbox going on the first swipe and on the way back, so it will probably hit you unless you're really good at dodging. Kind of like our survivor here. Next up, the tail. Talked about tail swipe. The Enrage. It has the exact same tail as the Gnasher, where it raises up its leg to stomp, but it takes a little bit longer and then stomps several times in succession. I think it's 6 before the aura pops out. The main difference between this Enrage and the Gnasher's Enrage is that the Hellion's causes small mini volcanoes to sprout on the ground. This can actually cause some serious damage because they stick around for a bit, so be careful. Also, it can apparently do Magma Bomb Ring even outside of Burning Rage, which is what we're going to talk about next. Because, like I said, as the fight goes on, you can kind of see it building up here with the little starbursts of light on the tail. As that builds up over time, the Hellion will eventually enter Burning Rage, which is its Ether Charge. If both sides plus the tail end up fully lit, then you get the Burning Rage. and it gets 3 new things. It doesn't gain anything new during Enrage, except that the standard buff. I'll give it a 4. Anyway, during Burning Rage, its Ether Charge, 3 things happen. First off, it has the Magma Bomb Ring, where it will stand still for a second, shrugs its entire back upwards, which launches somewhere between 6 and 8 magma bombs from its back. These land in a circle around the Hellion and spread out, forming a small area for the Hellion that it tries to keep Slayers out of or in it. Basically, it's forming a combat ring for itself. You can get in and out of this if you can get between the magma pools, but it's kind of dangerous, so be careful. Then there's the Magma Breath, where it will roar for a second, and then slowly starts retreating a couple of steps and breathes out magma on the ground in front of it. So basically, it's trying to cover its retreat. This is not dangerous if you're not immediately in front of it. So, I mean, yeah, you can walk into it because the magma sticks around for a bit, but pay attention to the ground when you're walking on, folks. I can't really say anything about that right now because I kind of screwed up there, but we did lose this hunt. And then finally, the Flame Heart. This is not actually an attack. This is a buff that you can get for damaging it while it's in Burning Rage. Remember that this mostly comes from break parts, but it can come from just raw damage. It causes large, about basketball-sized balls of fire to show up, kind of like, again, the Embermane Lantern. They stick around for a long time. All you have to do to pick one up is walk into it. That's it. And that'll give you the buff. Again, this buff does 2 things, which makes the Hellion much easier to fight. First off, it gives you a good-sized attack speed buff that sticks around for a long time. But the more important buff is it makes you immune to fire. So, for example, the magma bomb ring, the magma breath, the volcano, anything that creates a fire surface or fire damage, you are immune to that as long as you have the Flame Heart buff. Now, keep in mind, just like I showed you guys, this doesn't mean you're immune to the fact that the Hellion can still hit like a truck. It just means you have to worry only about its physical attacks rather than its fire attacks. Well, folks, this hunt did not end well for us. We did lose, but like I said, the Hellion is actually a very dangerous, very difficult beast to fight. But that's the nature of these beasts, folks. Sometimes you beat them, sometimes they beat you. We'll have to see about doing better next week when we face the final of the non-Maelstrom beasts. Yep, next week we're facing the giant insect that I get my helmet from. We're facing a Carabac. If you enjoyed, please feel like or favorite the video. You can also leave a comment down below if you have anything you'd like to say. And if you want to keep up with me and never miss any of my current series, then consider joining the squadron by subscribing to the channel. That does help me out, and I do appreciate it a lot. As for that, folks, I have been D. The Hellion got the better of us this week. We'll try harder next week with the Carabac. Until then, good night, and good gaming.